Good evening, guys. Warm welcome to the program. Today, we are going to see a topic on data analytics, which is required for supply chain professional. In the minds of professional, there is a big confusion. What is data analytics or supply chain analytics? What is relevant? Maybe you can see two extremes. On one end, the professional use basic Excel. Many of them, maybe I can say 80% of the executives use Excel as a notepad just for putting some table colors, some basic graphics, or VLOOKUP or formatting. But that constitutes only 10% of Excel capability. And on the other end, on the other extreme end, there are people who are suggesting, not to people, it could be software organization or training organization. They say analytics means you have to know about handling big data or Hadoop or so many things are there in the market. But what is really required for the professional to handle his job? Here, the data analytics is a support tool. You're nowadays handling lot of data available. If it is possible to do a mental calculation using a pen and calculator, it is fine. But that may not be possible when the volume of data is increasing. Possibly, you have to use some advanced function in Excel. There are a lot of options available like solver, what if analysis, macro, visual basic, which are part of Excel. Okay, that's called somewhere intermediate analytical tool. Possibly you can also use the SQL and Python or R as a basic tool. But on the other end, if we are using a very big, large volume of data, we have to also see what is big data, because there is a confusion in the mind of the people regarding what can be called as a big data, because that has to be quantified. Can you work on a big data by using your own system or laptop? Is it sufficient? Is it possible? Is it really required for the supply chain professional? That's one big question mark. So let me give some brief introduction about the data analytics, which employers are looking from the candidate. Okay, they are not looking for data scientist or expert in big data or Hadoop. It's only some vested interest are promoting this kind of a extreme requirement without focusing on supply chain. Nor you cannot also survive with basic Excel tool if you are using only basic Excel tool. Allow me to share me a screen. Hope you are able to see the screen and also able to listen to me, hear my voice. This program is being live streamed across various media. In apart from LinkedIn, it is running live in Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you have any doubts or clarification, you can type in the comments. Even if you are watching online, you are welcome to reach out to me or our staff by commenting in any of the platform. Now, today we are going to see what is the data analytics, which will really helpful supply chain professional to better his performance. Okay, whether you need to go for some tools which can handle big data or plain basic Excel is it sufficient? For that, before going into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Pattabhiraman. This is my LinkedIn profile, and I am also in Udemy. I have nearly 2,000 candidates enrolled in Udemy. As far as my profile is concerned, I am an engineer with PG degree in management and data science. Nearly 2.5 decades working in this global organization. I have started in planning function in Bosch, and I was working for nearly 16 years in that organization. I have handled each and every subdomain in supply chain at various level during my career. In the last 10 years, I have been heading supply chain, managing end-to-end supply chain operations. Last 4 years, I am heading the current organization as CEO of Thoughtware Training Private Limited. As far as my supply certification is concerned, if you are a supply chain executive, you should be knowing it. If you don't know about this certification, please Google up. Or not only Googling, you can also put these words like, for example, a PIX or CSCP in any job portal. You will see what kind of jobs require such a designation. If you are in the job market, these certifications are essential. I also have a certification from DDI, which provides certification like DDPP, which means Demand Driven Planner Professional. I am also a certified purchasing manager and project management professional. Apart from qualified in analytics, as far as our organization is concerned, we are 5 years old organization based in Bangalore. We provide both training and consulting in the field of supply chain, and most preferred program is supply chain analytics, for which we are doing 13th batch. What data analytical skill is required for supply chain professional to perform his job? Is it basic Excel versus advanced Excel versus SQL, Python, or some people talk about big data and Hadoop. So we should understand what is data science versus data analytics. Okay, data science is a big field. It includes various subdomain, and data analytics is one subdomain of data science. Okay, data science is a field that works with several scientific processes and methods, especially uses lot of algorithms. Okay, data analytics is not like that. It's a subdomain. It's a science behind analyzing any form of raw data with the intention of making conclusion or prediction. Okay, it can capture or fetch important information like metrics, trends that could be otherwise lost in massive pool of information. So what we are focusing as a supply chain executive is data analytics, not data science. Okay, here we are trying to focus one subdomain and focusing on that and nothing more. And this is what is expected from supply chain professional. Okay, you can see the difference when we talk about data science. The scope is macro level, whereas data analytics is micro. Target for data science is to ask right questions, devise data driven solution, whereas by using data analytics, you are going to find actionable insight and generate business report. Uses using big data, data science, yes, that is the function of data science, where you have to learn various algorithm. Possibly you have to become data scientist. You cannot become any domain specialist with that. But if you want to become domain specialist, data analytics is sufficient. Maybe sometime we may use big data, but not all the time. Big data has a lot of unstructured data, so you need lot of preparation activity. In fact, in big data, 70% of the time is spent towards preparing the data, which may not be the case in data analytics. Possibly if you are extracting some information from ERP or any software, it is more or less readily available. Maybe preparation could be 10 or 20% maybe there, but nothing more. As far as statistical knowledge is concerned, for data analytics, a limited or medium exposure may be required. Coming to the artificial intelligence and machine learning, yes, it is required for data science, but not so much for data analytics. But in the market, you will get a confused figure when somebody says data analytics or supply chain analytics. It doesn't directly mean machine learning or artificial intelligence. If you are serious in learning, then you have to give away supply chain and focus on pure data science. Then it is not a domain specialization, it becomes a general specialization, a general topic. Okay, So when you undertake any large scale project, there are clear defined way in which it can be done. There is a format called CRIPS DM, which means it's a cross industry standard process for data mining. Here we have to understand the business issue, data understanding, data preparation, analysis, modeling, validation, and presentation. So if we take data analytics, all these steps may not be required. You are trying to generate some report and then come out of data analytics and then try to implement what you are going to do. But with all that, you cannot say, I don't want to do data analytics, because data generation is going to increase day by day, and employers are looking for improvement from any of the candidates. That's where the having some understanding may be required. As a data science, you can see the data can come in any format, maybe any category, and also you can see the type of data apart from number, text. It can be a video, audio, or image. But for our analysis, maybe a 90% number is sufficient. Text may be sometime useful, but not so much is required. And regarding confusion on big data, many people keep talking anything big is big data, but you have to quantify. There are three characteristic which defines the big data, because there are a lot of social media which has come every day. They generate lot of data in terms of transaction or posting. Especially you can take LinkedIn or Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Millions of transaction happens every day. Okay. So for you to get a feel of big data, you should know the metric. For example, one byte is equal to 8 bits. When we talk about megabytes memory, we are talking about 2 to the power of 20 bytes. Okay. Gigabytes, and nowadays even TB, terabyte, we also keep doing it. But when you start using Excel, maybe more than 20 megabytes, it slowly gets hanged. Okay, so possibly 20 MB itself you can store the maybe 50,000, 1 lakh record. Okay, but and do many transactions. But if it is crossing more than say 100 MB, then using Excel or individual system may not be sufficient. This is where you need to have knowledge on big data. Yeah, then it cannot be done in a single computer. This is where we use something called parallel processing, and that comes into picture. Okay, as a supply chain professional, you need not worry about big data. This is where I am giving some clarification. Where should be your focus? When we say big data, there are three things we are going to see. One is size, in terms of whether it is a TB or PB, whatever volume we are talking, and data velocity, whether it is batch, periodic, near real time, or real time. In the big data, most of the things are real time. You are going to capture everything real time. But in supply chain analytics, may not be real time is really required. That's not going to help much. Okay. Except possibly in the distribution now we talk about 10 minutes delivery. Yes, real time can help, but that is a growing field, so you need not really worry about that. Then, as far as data variety is concerned, possibly we are going to use a simple ERP data input, whereas in the general market, you can see there are a lot of input, either in terms of audio, video, photo, or database, automated demand generation. All these are possible. With a combination of data velocity, data volume, and data variety, the data really becomes big volume, big data, and it is not only based on the size of the file. Okay, this you have to keep in mind. It's a combination of three things which is going to make data as a big data. And big data, this system have for handling big data, you cannot do it in your own system or a laptop. This is, system must have a capability to handle wide variety of data, whether they are structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data. And these systems are optimized to handle large volume of data since these systems use distributed computing. Okay. Whatever data are required for supply chain analytics is your own system, your own software. Many of them are open source software, but if you want to work on big data, you need to have something called distributed computing and parallel computing, which means the same task can be distributed across various users, and parallelly work can happen. So it cannot be loaded in one system, it has to be loaded in multiple system and multiple users can work. And this is where the big data comes into picture. But please keep in mind, as a supply chain professional, you can have an overall idea about this big data, but don't dive deep into it. That's what is my advice. Okay. So in big data, they use all this Hadoop, which is uses this distributed computing and parallel computing. But for us, those advanced nature is not required. Okay. If you have any doubts or clarification, you are always welcome to type in comments so that I can respond to you. Coming to visualization, on one end you have various software, and the other hand you should only see how to make a presentation to the point, and it should communicate what you are doing. In any case, visualization is required, but it should be simple and it should be communicated. But you can see in the market there are hundreds of vendors coming with the different ways of doing the graphs, which are not really required. Many times you will see lot of softwares giving so many options, but for a supply chain professional, maybe not all those things are required. Even doing a simple graphics using Excel or even Python may be sufficient. Why you need a specialized separate software like Power BI? I have seen many people studying Power BI, Tableau, all that, but is it required for a supply chain professional? Unless you are a data science, possibly those things may not be required. So there are various ways in which simple visualization can be done. There are some rules you should know, whether first of all I want to use only the table or a graph is required. Okay, there are certain conditions in which you have to use the data only in the table format and not in the graphical format. Maybe you can combine a graphical format with the data. If it is a graph, what kind of a graph you can do? There are guidelines provided in the analytics. For example, if you want a time series type of a thing, the graph could be a trend line, column chart, heat map, spark lines. But the keywords you can see, if your data represents, you are trying to look for data where there is changing something or raising, increasing, fluctuating, growth, decline, or increase, trend. For that, you have to use a time series graphs like a trend line, column chart, like that. There are various relationship, and most likely graphs are also there, and what are the relevant keywords. But in any case, you have to keep the say graphs very simple. Don't use multiple colors, three dimension, multiple dimension graphs are not really required unless you are an artist. Those things may not be required for a supply chain professional. So many people use even six dimensional graph. You can see this graph portrays a six dimension. X axis, Y axis represents quantity, sales, color represents state, shape represents category, size represents the profit, and also you can add animation. Then it becomes sixth dimension. But the question is, are they really important? Is the person to whom you are presenting able to visualize when you dump many parameters into one simple graph. Okay, though it seems to be attractive, but you have to see from the stakeholder point of view, are they really required? And if not, why you have to bother about these graphs? Okay, but there are a lot of software vendors who come and promote this type of graph. Even sometime you may see even in the TV media discussion, especially during election result, they put lot of complicated graphs which common man cannot understand. So here the idea is you need analytics as a supply chain professional. You need analytics, but it is something via media, not the both the extreme. Don't go for only basic Excel, or nor go for advanced program like Hadoop or big data, which is not required. Okay, so in this regard, we do our main globally renowned program called Supply Chain Analytics. We will shape you as a supply chain analyst by providing what are the tools really sufficient for you to groom you as a supply chain analyst. And this is what employers want from supply chain analysts. They don't want you to learn big data, Hadoop, all that. For that, they have highly paid some data scientists will be available. They may not know anything about supply chain, but here, as a supply chain, you are going to use the relevant applicable tool for improving the performance of your job or your function. So all our programs are live, and also we have a self-paced program. Whenever it is live, it is interactive program, and this happens during the weekend. So if any of you have any doubts or clarification, now I am available online. You can type it in comments in any of the medium which you are watching it, or you can even reach out to our website, or here you can see our WhatsApp numbers. You can reach to this numbers. Anyone of you, any doubt, clarification, you can type in the comments. But you need to understand, many of the multinational organization are changing the designation of the position. Instead of calling supply chain executive, they have started calling supply chain analyst, inventory analyst, procurement analyst. So they want the respective domain specialist to have this additional skill. It is not the only skill, but additional skill on data analytics, and they want to see how you are going to use this tool to improve your function. Improving supply chain function could be reducing the replenishment time, or reducing the cost, or devising a better routing pattern, or reducing the transportation cost, or improving the quality. This is what final output is expected, not the graphs. Okay, graphs is the intermediate part where we are going to plot. So it is not essential that you have to do it only in a particular tool like Tableau or Power BI. Maybe if the Excel graph alone may be sufficient many times. Any doubts, clarification, you can type in the comments. If there are no doubts, let me conclude the session. Thanks for watching. Have a nice evening. Bye.